Hello and welcome back. We're going to continue developing our news site by adding a mobile drop-down conversion menu from this website here. This is what it kind of looks like on our desktop, and here's what it looks like on the phone. Very, very easy to use, very easy to install. Notice over here to the left, there's a place to download it, which I've already done. And I have it sitting out here on my desktop. I've already expanded it. And this is what it looks like currently. It's got a CSS file, has a couple of images, and then it's got some instructions. Okay, let's take a look at the instructions and see what they ask us to do. First of all, include the following in your head. Meta name, viewport, content width. Well, we've already got that statement. Let me open this in something else. There we go. Now it's a little easier to read. Okay. It wants a meta name with a viewport and a content width. Well, that's already part of our standard template. Okay. That viewport image is already there, so we're one step ahead of the curve there. Then they want us to link to the style sheet that they provide called mobilemenu.css. So let's start. Here's our folder with a CSS and an index. Here's their example with the CSS. Let's go ahead and move this CSS into our folder. So now we have an additional CSS available. Then we can come to our index.html. We'll add another line here that says mobile menu. And we simply change this to the name of this file here. We save it. And once again, if we reopen that file, Dreamweaver will go out and check it, and sure enough, the path is correct. And this is what they're providing. Notice there's a media query right here at the top, which we're going to have to tweak. In our phone, it goes from 0 all the way. Our tablet kicks in at 600. So we want this mobile menu to work from 0 all the way up to 600. And then we'll have it stop. Okay, so we've made that little minor change. All right. So let's go back to our instructions. We have this style sheet linked, and we've checked it to make sure it's loading properly. Now they want us to load jQuery. Well, once again, we're a step ahead of them. We already have version 1.8 of jQuery loaded on line 14. And then there's a script which actually just assigns and unassigns a class called open. And it uses the toggle class function. So the nav button and the primary nav, okay, if you remember, let's go back to our code here. We had you assign the primary nav to this opening UL, primary dash nav there, and we had us assign the nav dash button class to that one. Well, that is this here, nav dash button and primary nav. So this little script, which we're going to copy, and we're going to put in our page, simply takes these two items, and when you click on the nav button, when you click it, it's going to switch the nav button and the primary nav to assign the class of open or to remove the class of open. That's it. It's really easy. So let's save that. Step number 2, here's a button. Well, I had you add that in the previous video. There it is. The button class, nav-button, toggle navigation. So that's in place. And I already had you do this. UL class equals primary nav assigned to the UL. Notice that we have a clear fix that we learned about in the previous series of videos. Clear fix keeps the UL from collapsing, and it's tied to this clear fix here. Alright, so now that we've got everything in place, let's see, actually we don't have everything in place. They've actually left one thing off of here, and that is those images. So, in the example, there is an images folder with a close icon and an open icon. Those need to be put in our news practice in the same relationship to the CSS. So, we'll jump back to our web browser. We'll go back to our page. Here it is. Hit refresh. And there it is with a slight problem. Now, by default, this is blue. Okay. But we have the graphic working, open and close. The submenu items are expanding. The only problem we have is over here, there's a 10% margin. Let me show you why. Let's come back to our code. Let's go back to the phone. In the phone, we have this natural box model applied to all the elements. That includes all of the list items in our navigation. Well, the people who wrote this awesome thing that we're using, evidently they don't or didn't plan on the natural box model layout. So they've got the older style CSS. So we need to tweak it to make it work with our new one. So we're going to go to their mobile menu.css. We're going to come down here to the primary navigation list item anchors. Notice they have a width here of 90% on line 75. That works as long as you don't have the natural box model. But since we do, that needs to become 100. Save it. Let's come back to ours, take a quick peek. Make sure we're back here below 600 pixels. And notice that that is now fixed. Now here's another beautiful thing I really like. Look at this, line 51. Change the menu color. Notice what they've got. All of these things are RGBA or alpha values. So they simply overlay the base color here. So if I wanted to have a red scheme, or we could do the more technical hex value, doesn't matter. I've changed one number. Notice this button changes, that changes, all of these change, everything is automatically updated to a darker red or a lighter, this is a very, very light pink over top of it. So you can easily tweak that and change it to whatever scheme is supposed to be used for your design. Mine's a brown color, so I'll change that to a brown. But there it is, ready to go.